Oh, that was a bad cut. But what can I say? Okay, and then what is it, number 4? No, number 11. Oh, yay. Hello. I haven't been on the live streaming thing for many a moons, so I apologize. I've been drowning in work. Robert, you're out there maybe? Hello, Robert. Greetings. Long time no talk. I thought I'd do a quick channel update. Not that this is anybody would believe anything I would say right now, but I do have all this stuff for the FPV combat just still sitting all here. Here's 3 planes and 3 bunches of parts and 3D printed parts and all the things. All the things are here. And I promise I'm going to get back to the FPV combat stuff. They're even going to release an add-on to it. Anyway, so that is still right there. But I did buy the Flerken plans. And of course in my... Oh, what is the other channel update? Sorry, I'm getting off task because I'm trying to like not stream for 3 hours and babble on. I'm trying to stay on point and not babble on. But channel update, I never did a follow-up video on the AR Wing Pro build. Okay, this plane is an amazing flying plane, but I have a problem. I'm a terrible pilot, and I can't slow this thing down. I haven't learned how to slow it down. So I've already busted the motor mount on a landing. I busted the fin off on one landing, and then on the subsequent maiden, after I repaired the fin, the very next flight, I busted the motor mount on the landing. So now I have a 3D printed motor mount. And I do have all the footage for the maiden video. It's not like you haven't, there's like 30 million videos of that plane on the YouTubes, but it is a beautiful flying plane. And it kind of brings me to this Flerken build here. So let's just change gears and forget about the channel update. I don't have my shit together, but I have a project creep problem. So I creeped over and I haven't finished the FPV combat build, even though I've built like a zillion parts, like 3 of everything. And I'm going to do a live stream where I actually build the plane with all the parts. And anyway, I will get it together. I swear I will. I broke the fin before I even got out of the house. Yeah, I can see that happening sometimes. I can't say that I haven't made that same mistake myself in life. Okay, so I thought I would talk about the Flerken just randomly because it's a random stream, right? And I don't have any planning or anything, and I've been working like crazy in my real job, and then in the middle of the night when I'm done writing code at 2 o'clock in the morning, sometimes I will just watch a video over here and cut pieces for this Flerken. And so the Flerken, I bought the plans, I paid for the plans from Flight Test, I joined their community and bought the plans for like whatever it was, 15 bucks, whatever. I kind of liked the idea of a plane that sort of looks like a Drac, but not, I know, it's not anything like that. But it's got this forward swept wings, and I just think it's a cool, I have a soft spot for some of Josh Bixler's designs. I just got to admit, I do. So, what can I say? So the Flerken is one of those things where I was excited about once I saw it. And so I bought the plans as soon as they were available. Kevin told me, my flying buddy Kevin, thank you Kevin, he's just on the ball, of course, always knows what's going on. Kevin and Andy, they always know what's going on better than I do. So I bought the plans and I started building the plane, and I built all the parts. So this is like this is the original kind of the base plate. This is called the lower plate, and this one is called the upper bay, and then these are the inner wings, and then this piece is called the rear cover. So I started to make some changes right away, like I put these little reinforcement tabs in here, and then I started to look at the way it was designed, and I started to realize what was going to happen in a crash. Let's put it that way. That's how I started. My mind starts working, especially with flight test planes. Okay, so there's going to be a battery up here, right? So there's going to be this point. And so if you look at the upper bay, oh gosh, do I have it here? Hold on. Let me, yeah, right here. No. We'll get this one out too, but, oh yeah, here's the upper bay. So if you look at the upper bay, let's look at the template here. The template shows that you would be cutting out all these pieces here. These are all cutouts. Cutout, cutout, cutouts, cutouts down here, cutouts. Okay, that is this. Here, let me get this one out. This one's not attached. That is this piece right here. But you notice mine does not have, excuse me, big dinner tonight. And I'm not used to eating big dinners. Okay. I didn't cut out any pieces because I don't want to weaken that part of the main structure of the structure, main strength of the structure. And then I also started to think about like strengthening. So I immediately thought I would figure out how to. There is so much room in this plane. Let me tell you, there's so much room. That's why I say considerations for INAV. You could put a ton of gear in this plane, but you have to plan ahead. Like if you want to put gear in these bays here, then, okay, so anyway, I'm getting off task here. So then I decided, well, I'm going to put some wood spars in like that. So I am going to put some wood spars in. And then, of course, I didn't buy a kit. I just bought the plan. So then I also have designed up a couple of 3D printed parts. And they're on Thingiverse. I think I put the Thingiverse link in, and I need to put the link in for the actual Flerken in the description. This is the motor mount plate. I'll show you how that goes on. And this is the flight controller plate. And I'll show you where that goes too. So those two are the two pieces that I've come across that I need to design. Came out. Overbuild everything, exactly. Yeah, yeah. So you'll see what I'm talking about when you see what I'm saying, overbuild. Okay, so basically, I haven't built any Flerkens yet. I've watched the build video like a million times. And so, okay, so let me get to one of the main points of this is that, let me show you that this piece does fit in here, and that these are supposed to kind of go like that. That's like the first part of it, and then you put the wings on. And then there's a nose piece, and there's a full nose piece that goes on. And it goes on, and it goes all the way around. And on the bottom, there's a big, like I said, this plane is huge. So on the bottom, there's this piece. So this is the stock flight test design here. And I'll show you what my modification is going to be, I think. And it probably won't work, but we'll see. Okay, so then the whole nose goes over this. Let me get the, oops, crash. Let me get the back piece. So the back piece is on here like this. And this piece doesn't come off. And then the nose slides on. And it goes all the way around. Now, I haven't built one that goes all the way around, and I'll explain why. So, I don't like the idea of having a nose like that. I don't like a big giant nose, and then every time I break it, I'm going to have to build a brand new nose, and it's not easy. You have to, this is half of it. This is half the nose, and then it goes around the other way. This, am I making any sense? Okay, so let me get to the nose first. Okay, so what I decided is that I wanted a hatch design. Instead of a slide-off nose, I wanted the Flerken to be exactly the same shape, but I wanted hatches, like a like a mini drac or a drac. So there's a drac at work that was sort of bequeathed to me, but I'm not. It's not really mine. It belongs to this guy, and it belongs to the new department head in the lab there, but because they're going to use it eventually. But it's a drac. It came from Chris Click. I mean, it came right from that dude. Like, talked to one of the former professors where I work and sent him this plane. And it's got all the hatches and stuff like that, you know, and forward swept wing. So, okay, so the Flerken is you could say, some people might say it's a poor imitation of that kind of style of plane. I like it, man. I like the cool. I like the way Josh Bixler designs planes. But I always want to modify what he's designed. And that is in the spirit of flight test, right? So that is what he always says. You're supposed to, you know, he goes on and on about that. So here's my bottom plate. It looks more like a rocket ship as opposed to, here, let's get the other one. What I have decided to do is so this is the original shape of the base of what is called the, what do they call it? The lower plate. In the plans, it's called the lower plate. And then this on the right side here, on the left side here, is my design. And so this is, I've made a critical error, and we're going to cut a new one of these. That's what I was going to do while I babbled on, is cut a new one of these. I beveled the wrong edge of the front. This is the right edge. You're supposed to bevel the top edge here so that this inner wing panel can fold over. And I beveled the bottom edge of this one. But you can see what I'm trying to do here, so I'll show you. So this piece has the same bottom piece, but you just don't glue the secondary reinforcer on, because this is the secondary reinforcer. It's all one piece. And so that's the bottom. This is the bottom of the plane. And this is the top of the plane. So on the bottom of the plane, I'm going to put one of those NeoPixel, I think it's 24 rings, 24 lights in the bottom there. That's what that is, a cutout for that. So this is how the bottom is going to go on, just like the stock design. Then the top is going to get, and so I'm building the hatch, and I'll talk about the hatch. I'll talk about how I've changed the front nose in a second here. So this is the top half of the front nose. This is where is the rest of it? Over here. This is the back. So this part will be in here, like the stock design. I said I wasn't going to ramble on. I'm probably rambling on. Okay, it's not going in right because I don't have it in the right spot. Okay. So this is my modification of the way the top's going to work. And this will all be glued together. There won't be any slide off nose. The nose gets glued right to the top. it's not all going together right, but it will. And then I'm still haven't built the bottom piece, but this is the way the top piece will go. And then the FPV camera, I'm going to build a 3D printed part that goes in here to hold the FPV camera. It's going to slide in under this little piece here, and it's going to be the perfect spot to go through wherever this angled piece is. So I still have some measuring to do there. So then there'll be a hatch. So this is all glued together, plus there'll be those 2 wood spars in there. So there's an actual, like a continuous structure, a thick structure going all the way from the front to the back, instead of the way this one is, where you're going to have, it's still a pretty thick structure, I'll give them that. But this whole front part, I can just imagine that nose getting crunched on the maiden flight. and so this, so how did I, okay. So does that make sense? Let's read what Robert is saying. Take out the weak areas. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so then also the flight controller part will go in here. The flight controller is designed to sit in those 2 holes. The 3D printed mount sits in those 2 holes right there. The motor mount sits in the back. I'll have to show you that. Okay, so what am I doing with this? Basically, it's just the front piece. Here it is. I'm going to draw it out. I'm going to do it again. What I did was, okay. By the way, oh, let's talk about the other modifications that I'm going to make for strength. So on the spars are cut, and I'm sure that's even weaker when it comes from the flight test design, because the laser cuts, when you get a flight test, a pre-cut one from flight test, which I've never bought one myself, sorry, flight test, but hey, I bought your plan. So, and I bought other stuff for tricopters and things in the past, so I've spent money at the flight test store before. Anyway, when you cut the laser cut, the laser heat, the heat that they need to cut through the paper also melts the foam like in a concave like shape on the inside, so you lose some of the foam inside here. And if you look at, it's really thin where this servo goes. So I decided I would reinforce it, because I know this is the spar. This is the wing spar for the outer wing panels. So that is basically what I've done. Is, I don't know how good it'll come in, but where this piece is, right spar, right wing, okay. So the right wing, I decided, okay, so when you bend the wing, it's gonna dip in there. So I've already pre-compressed this part of the foam right there. And then where I glued the bamboo stick on, or the barbecue skewer thing, was to the top, towards the bottom of the wing, where this is the bottom of the wing here. So I haven't bent these wings yet, but I have them cut, and I have both spars cut and prepared with the extra pieces of popsicle stick here where the servo is. I had to leave it off right there because that's where the wires go off the servo. So but there's also wood on this side. So there's wood on both sides of the spar, across one side all the way across the weak spot, and the other side halfway across the weak spot. Also, for longevity, you'll notice that all these pieces that are on the outside are already taped. They're covered with packing tape, and I tape them when they're flat before I cut them. So before I fold them and glue them. So that means that I cut the piece out with using the plans. I cut the piece out, then I lay it flat on the table over here, and then I tape it from back. I start on the back and I move my way toward the front. That way it's overlapping going backwards. Before I tape it, I draw out where I want to put my fancy paint, which is magic marker or Sharpie, and I put my logo and anything, stickers or stuff that I want to put on there. I also plan out where I'm going to cut out things, and I cut things out like that's for the NeoPixel ring there. Anyway, okay, so the wings are the same. I cut the wing, then I draw whatever I want to draw on there. In this case, just a simple black stripe that hopefully matches up with the stripe on, which I'm going to cut off the other one. And then I tape it. Then I do finish the bevel cuts and do any bending, which I haven't done on this yet. I think I've done a little bit, tried a little bit just to test, but this one I haven't even bevel cut yet. Okay, so that's kind of some of the things I'm doing for longevity. The spars that are going to run along what's called the upper bay lengthwise from front to back are just simple, crappy, from some poor tree in China, because these actually came from China. Nowadays, even our wood dowels come from China. Okay, so my methodology. Let's see, can I switch cameras here? Let's switch cameras. So what I did is, here's a plan, and I'm never going to be able to, it was $15 for the plan, or $15 for all the plans. Oh, was it? It's $15 for the Flerken plan. Just so the Flerken plan, it comes as a PDF. It sucks. Okay, let me just go on a rant about the PDF for just a minute. In the olden days, in the days of the spear and the arrow and the grand old times and the before times, when we're at the pinnacle of civilization, we're on our way down now. So, but in the before times, we had a PDF which you could take, and I've done this on a live stream before, I think, and you can take the PDF and you can bring it into Adobe Illustrator, take the pieces from the PDF separately, like you just want this piece. So this is the upper bay of the Flerken, for example. If you just wanted that, you could copy and paste that into a vector drawing program like Adobe Illustrator or Inkscape or something like that. Oh, I'm looking at the camera and I'm not looking at the camera. So you could do this. You could get a vector drawing, and then you could manipulate it. You could do what Josh Bixler says everyone should be doing to learn how to fly and deal with this stuff is take and do your own modifications. Excuse me for a sec. Okay, so with the Flerken, you pay for the plans and you get a locked PDF. And so I've had to do some crazy things to do the kind of thing that I like to do, which is just get a piece of a part. Basically, I've just anyway, it doesn't matter what I'm doing. I'm just you know, getting the piece up on the screen and getting it the way I want it and printing it out, basically. So, and this one, there was so much, I don't know what I did, but here. So this is the base plate, or the what's called the lower plate, I think, from the flight test design. And then this, where is it? I lost it. Oops. Ill prepared, sorry. This is the doubler, this piece here. So this piece here is, if I can demonstrate that, is this, this poor, I'm probably going to have to recut those inner wing things. Okay, so the doubler here is the part that's sticking out in front. And so what I'm going to do, and what I did to get this rocket ship shaped piece, so basically we want to turn this piece into this piece. And so this is where the doubler goes, up here. And so basically what I do is just take this, I even talk like Josh Bixler when I'm talking about his planes. I take the because he says basically what you do, basically. Everything is basically, of course. So I'm going to tape this together, and I'm going to cut this out, and then we're going to draw the angles between. But then I'm also going to measure out for future, like where, I'll show you what I'm talking about, where these pieces end up in the back, because I put this reinforcement in, and it's got to be lined up exactly right for this back, these winglets, or the inner wing pieces. When you're building this crazy foam board stuff, everything's got to be pretty close, surprisingly precise. So I will not ever be able to publish this like as a plan, because I think if I just took this and drew it out, which I'm going to do in my own, I'm going to make this into a vector drawing myself just by doing all the measurements, but with my own, the rocket ship shape, this shape, I'm going to do it. This is the shape that I'm going to try. Oh, so okay. So I'm getting off track. So I'm never going to be able to publish that because I think it'll be a copyright violation of what Flight Test wants. So even though they say they want you to modify, I don't think I'll be able to put this as part of my Thingiverse. I'm going to put my 3D printed parts. They already are on Thingiverse, but I'm not going to be able to put the plan that I did to figure out this nose piece. But I can do it online and show you exactly what I'm doing, which is maybe the point of this live stream, I guess. So now what I'll do is explain the top and bottom piece. Instead of building the entire nose, you need to build the top and bottom piece separately, because you're going to have a hatch for the front, and then you're going to have a hatch for the flight controller, and then you can even have these side hatches. This thing is so damn huge. It's so huge. You're going to be able to have like a giant side hatch. So the VTX is going to go over here somewhere, and then maybe I'm going to have this one I'm going to build with crazy lights or something. So I'm going to have a separate Arduino in here controlling all the lighting or something. I don't know. There's so much room for stuff. I mean, look down there that you could put. You don't want to put so much stuff in there, but I'm just saying you could put a lot of stuff in there. Okay. So back to where I was. How do you do this? How did I figure out so what I figured out is, let's switch back to this view here. I hope this comes in. Let's turn the lights on. I don't know. I hope it comes. I hope you can see it. Oh, wow. Go to the print store. Yeah. That's an idea. So basically, here is the nose piece. And like I said, the idea is that you build the whole nose. And so what you have to do is you can see how the top lines up with the plans there. So what I did is through a series of trial and error, figure out what the right angle is to cut this. And so this is the nose as Flight Test says you should build it. And this is, so basically you're folding all the way around and you end up with this like nose piece, and it's joining together at the bottom of the nose piece. So these two edges here, this is the front, that's front, and this is the bottom of the plane. So what I've done is take the plan and cut it. And then I first just cut it along this line here. I've printed this plan like 100 times. I first just cut it right along one of the cut lines, right along this one right there. And folded it over and glued it up. Here's the first one I did. And it didn't, the lengths of the sides didn't, turns out that this line here is not lined up with the front to back plane of the aircraft. Does that make sense? The front to back plane of the aircraft, plane being a geometric concept and aircraft being the physical aircraft. So this piece was a wasted piece, and I was so sure of myself that I did all the taping and drawing and stuff, and even had extra pieces so that when it anyway, that one's no good. So through trial and error, I figured out, I think this one, I should pay more attention to which one is the final one. But basically, so what I did is that now there's two separate pieces. Now you had one piece for the plans, and now I've got two separate pieces. You've got a top piece. Let's put these aside. You have a top piece, and let's use this one first, and then a bottom piece. And so what I did was cut the two sides off and join them up to make the bottom piece, and which I haven't cut. Oh, I have cut this one. Where is it? Where is the bottom cutlet? It's here somewhere. I'll have to find it because I did it. It's probably in the box, right? No. Nope. It's aha, here it is. Here they are. I cut like 3 of them. Okay, so here, kind of give you an idea of the prototyping process here. The first one, I knew not to tape. I didn't waste my time taping because I wasn't so sure of myself after it took me 4 tries to get the top piece right. So this is the bottom, and there's several folds in the bottom that I had to get that are exactly according to plan. The only thing that's not according to the plan is where you cut, because you got to try to line up. You're trying to get on this thing and get it lined up with this edge along here when it's all folded together and pressed down flat against the structural piece here, so that when it's all glued together, it all acts as one piece. So this is, this is the best demonstration of what I can get. The nose was supposed to be one piece, And now I'm making it into two separate pieces so that anywhere you would want to put stuff, you could put a hatch if you needed to gain access. And what you could do, since it's foam board, is you build everything in. So you're going to put all the pieces in. How long have I been streaming for? Keep it simple. Yeah. Well, I think in some ways I am simplifying it. I'm simplifying it because I'm making it so that there isn't this big giant piece that you have that's going to break. You're going to break. And let's say you crash this plane, right? And when you crash it, here's the bottom. I'm going to switch camera. I keep forgetting to switch camera views. Let's say you do a nose-in crash. And you've got it constructed this way. Assuming that you don't ruin the integrity along the front to back plane of the aircraft, it still is a straight plane, then that means you've probably just crunched some of these panels here. And if I am a flight test plane. I don't know how to fly worth a shit, but I am a flight test builder of at least intermediate experience. And here I can show you. So this is a perfect example of a flight test plane, modified of course, because my design, I didn't like the way that the rear of this plane was, the FT Spear. But this plane was crashed very extensively so that the front of it, this front corner, was obliterated and it looked horrible, and I'm sure it would still fly, but anyway. But what I did was I took out just what I had to take out. And you can barely see it here, but there's a crease right there. So as long as it's not, you can repair. I'll show you a second example. But you can repair a plane without having to build a whole new plane. You can fucking fix, excuse my French, but you can fix these things. And I'd rather just replace a few panels like that than, let me get another one. Replace a few panels like that than replace an entire plane or the nose, because this nose is really hard to build right. It is. I'm just saying, not really hard. It's medium. It's intermediate. Okay, let's take this as another example. I have crashed both my favorite planes, my flight test aeroplanes. Here's one. Here's what's left of the other one in this box. This plane, I don't even know, but I think it had more than, I think it had 200 flights on it. So we're talking about a foam board plane. I think it's amazing. I don't know, it's amazing. Okay, so here's an example. I crashed the crap out of this plane. And of course the 3D printed part came through like a dream. This thing was destroyed. So this wing on this side was just dislocated a little bit. So all I had to do was pipe in some glue and stick it back together. But this one was just obliterated right here. And you can see I've cut in a new piece of foam. Instead of replacing the entire wing and rebuilding it probably took me just as long, I'm going to have to admit. Because I had to take the whole wing off, and the spar is still broken on this side, but it doesn't seem to matter. But I did put a new spar in that goes all the way from here to here. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. You can fix these things. That's the point. And you don't, like the AR wing, like the AR Pro, if I would have broken that, you know, turn that, let's say I did something to turn that winglet into foam snow on that thing back there, that would be a real bummer. Anyway, the whole point of this whole long video for 48 minutes, oh, I'm still under an hour, good, okay, is that I wanted to make a plane. I want to make the FT Flerken. I want to make it for INAV. So of course we have our mount for the motor. And oh, let's show off how we do the 3D printed pieces too before I run out of time. We have the motor mount. Let's go here. So the motor mount is let's see if it fits. I haven't fitted on this one. I've only fitted on the other one. Let's see. You have to definitely make sure that there's a space for this. So what I did was I made the little tang just like if you had a piece of wood from the flight test kit. And then on the back it has a relief. Let me get the other one because I've already fitted into this part here. Let's make sure I don't burn myself. The glue gun is on. So the way it fits in is it gets reinforcement from, remember that when you cut this, if you're building a Flerken and you cut this back, the back of this, which is called the upper bay, the rear angle here, this is your thrust angle. So you make sure when you cut this that you're cutting it accurately, because this is the thrust angle that Josh says that you have to have on here. And I'm going to go with that. You know I'm going to go with that. So the way it fits is like that. It'll get glued in, of course. So it has a solid fit. And if you print it on glass, it's super shiny at the back too. Anyway, okay, so that's the motor mount, and the motor mount on the inside has your M3 nuts can go through there. So this is designed for a 34 millimeter X mount, which is the size you get with a Sunny Sky motor. So that's that. These are the only two parts I have on Thingiverse so far. The second part is the flight controller mount. And that goes right, I think it's pretty close to the center of CG2. So basically it's very simple. It's just a little plate with a couple risers. And the risers are designed to fit into those little holes right there. See those holes right there? Those are the holes that you're going to get when you make the piece or buy the piece from Flight Test and pop it out. So that's how the flight controller mount fits. And it has the additional advantage of it has this little space here underneath it so that you can run wires back and forth underneath the flight controller right under here. So there's two sets of holes. What are they? They are, one is designed for the Maytech WSE 411 WSE. Why? Because I have like 1,000 of those. No, I don't have 1,000. I have like 6 or 7 of them. And the other one is it 30? I don't remember what the other one is. Sorry, but it's a standard size. The second hole. There's 2 sets of holes there. I don't know if you can see that, but there's 2 sets of holes. Okay, so yeah, keep it simple. Okay, is that Bronco? Okay, so that is what I want to do. So why I'm changing the design even before I've built a single one of these Flerkens. So one of the things I will mention that I'm trying to sort out is exactly where these reinforcement things go, and I'll show you why that is too, since this is half of this video is notes for myself. But if you put this rear piece in here, hold on a second. Where is that? Of course. Aha. Perfection. Okay. We'll just cover up all the stupid labels of my life. Numbers and things. Okay. If you put this on, what I'm trying to do again, pop it off again, is have reinforcements so that when the whole thing is like a solid structure. As long as we're going to have all these giant pieces of foam on this plane to make it look with that cool look that it sort of almost has. So what you have to do is you have to get this plane down here at the right angle, or at the right position. And I've done that now, and that is how you figure out this wing has to be flush at the end here. And I've measured, so that's 66 millimeters from the point right there to this corner, when the airfoil is in the, hopefully, the proper shape. So it's in the shape of an airfoil now, like that. See? So this whole thing will form a nice structure. Oh, okay, so now let's go over considerations for INAV real quick, because I have, how long? I might go for, I'll cut it out till, I'll go till I get the piece cut out. So like 1.5 hours. It's 1 hour now. 1 hour now. Oh, I also added extra reinforcement here, because this whole, that's another change I'm going to make. I'm going to have a 3D printed part for the motor. Many changes I've made. If you look at the Flerken design, it has a bunch of little silly vents here that don't serve any purpose really. So I didn't put those in. I didn't put the side holes in on the upper bay. And I've added reinforcement down here. These strips. I'm sure I did it on the other one too, or will do it on the other one that I'm building. I'm going to end up with 2 of these because I'm building 2 of them as I build it, because I'm using one to prototype. I might as well build that too because I have all the parts for it. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll just build one. We'll see. Anyway, so I wanted this glue joint here to have something to sit on. I'll talk about another modification in 1 second. So then also, because this is supposed to have this like finished foam hatch type thing where you build some kind of piece that goes, I don't want to do all that. I'm going to have a regular hatch with some 3D printed vents or something for the ESC back here. That's what I'm going to have. I don't know. We'll see. I haven't totally figured out this area, but there's no need for any hatch here at all, really, because all it is ESC access. So you only need access to it when you want to change the motor or whatever. So it's going to be a semi-permanent hatch. Like, it's maybe have a couple magnets and I'll just tape the whole thing down or something. I don't know. I haven't quite decided yet. There's so much space in here. But I will. Okay, so what other things do we need for INAV? We need the GPS. So I'm going to put the GPS right under my little logo thingy right here. So I've already cut out the square for the Bentian Mini 220 GPS that I'll be putting in here. These are the lines for the hatch. So the way Flight Test builds it is you glue this piece as one piece, and then you glue this down to the plane here, but only behind this line. And then this front part ends up getting glued to the whole front part up here. You see why I'm saying I don't want to build another hatch? I mean, a nose? Because the nose isn't just this piece. The nose for the standard Flight Test design comes all the way back here to this line. And you glue these two pieces together towards the end of the build. This piece behind this line is glued to this piece. But this piece in front of this line is glued to the whole piece that's going around the front of it. You get what I'm saying? So I didn't want to do that. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm making this long ass video explanation. And I think it'll turn out to be better because you can do hatches. Now I'm going to say one other thing. I did a little rant about the flight test plans and that they're locked and you can't edit them anymore, and they're just, the pages are images, they're not vector drawings. The whole thing is just sucks now as far as editing the. So you have to do what I'm doing, which I'll do in the second half hour here. It's 1 hour and 19 seconds I've been going for, but 15 minutes of that 1 hour and 19 seconds was not me actually streaming. So I've really only been here for 45 minutes. Yeah, that makes better sense. Okay, so what was I going to say? I don't know, I totally lost track. Okay, so for the second half hour, we will figure out how I can do the plans, because I was ranting about editing the plans. Oh yeah, and ranting about the nose situation. So that's why I just don't want the nose. I don't want the nose. I'm sorry, I don't. I want to be able to build this whole front. That front FPV is going to slot into this little area here. I just want it to be built with hatches. Oops. Okay, so let's see. So let's talk about, since we can't edit the drawings, we have to take the drawings that we have and like paste them together and use the good old method of, basically what I'm going to do is make one of these. This is the plan. So this is the cutout where I took the base plate or the lower plate and the doubler, and then calculated the, I got a little extra pieces here. Just not calculated, but yes, calculated. Oh, and that reminds me. See, we still have to make an edit here because look at this. The front overlaps where I cut this piece off. And then the rear, let's see, which one is the right one? Uh-oh. I think it's this one. Uh-oh. The rear doesn't quite. Now you have to get it. I don't know if this is the right one. I'll have to mess with it. I don't think this is the right one. Okay, so that's not the right one. Is it this one? Let's hope it's, no, I don't think it's this one. That is the other one. No, it is this one. This is the right one. Okay, so the bottom I don't know how I'm going to arrange this, but the bottom is just going to be a cover plate, and the top is going to have the FPV and the HD camera in it somehow. Or maybe the bottom will have the RunCam thumb in it. I don't know. Okay, so that's how it all goes together. This is the right one. These two I should get rid of. Okay, so you can't... Oh, the other thing is, so the VTX is going to go on the side over here somewhere. There's so much room, and I can put some cooling scoops in or something if it needs it. Okay, so let's get to our thing. Here's how we're going to do it. I want to redo it. That's why I'm cutting this out and doing it over. Because I want to take exact measurements. So, and the long and the short of it is that I'm hoping these modifications will let me have this Flerken for... It's still got some weak points I can see in the design, and that's where the wings attach to the side plates here along these lines right here. I'm not going to be able to put in any wood. I'm going to have to pre-design something if I'm going to put in like a wood angle spar, because there's a dihedral there. And I need to follow the dihedral in order to make sure that the wing flies like it's supposed to fly. Oh, I didn't really finish this explanation very well about what I did here with these nose pieces. What I ended up having to do was figure out, I wish I could zoom this camera, but how much to go from this crease line to the cutoff point at the front, and then how much to go from the crease line to the cutoff point at the back. And they aren't the same distance, and they don't have any relation to the existing crease line that I originally followed when I first cut it up and started prototyping these top and bottom pieces. So you end up going 5 millimeters past this line in the front, and you end up going 1 millimeter inside this line in the back. And you can barely see it because that's another thing. So now that you have these print plans that are images, not only are they images, but the lines are not, they're fuzzy. They're fuzzy lines. Like when you zoom in on them, they're not crispy. So you lose a little precision over what you had when you had the old plans. You do. When you're actually just looking at it, looking at the printout, and you go to cut it with your razor blade, and you're looking at it with your eyeballs, you lose precision. Okay, there goes another rant. Okay, so that was the top piece. The same thing with the bottom piece. So like I said, I joined them together, but I had to also take the bottom piece and shorten the width of it by 5 millimeters. So if you look at this one as compared to this one, let's get these other pieces out. You can see the center line here is 5 millimeters off, and the edge line matches up with the bevel line. So the whole thing is decreased by 5 millimeters. I'm going to put another piece of tape on here. So I keep these as reference, even though I'm going to cut out. I hate trying to follow a template that I've already cut with. So I did do that when I was prototyping. I cut through the same one like 2 or 3 times, and I kept just taping it back together. But I'm gonna print out new ones like I'm doing here. Okay, so for the bottom piece was the same thing. I had to figure out how much I wanted to leave on the front edge, which is this edge here when you're folding it, and then how much to leave on the back. And the back is a real problem because there really isn't any. And you join up with where all these bevels meet up. So you end up with something kind of like that. And that's not perfect, but also you will end up with an edge on the front that you wouldn't have if you made this nose piece one giant piece. And so what I'm going to do with that is when I recut this isn't going to be I'm going to recut another one of these. And when I do that, I'm going to overlap. I'm going to leave paper on this edge, 10 millimeters, so that it overlaps the edge of the foam and then the bottom by 10 millimeters, and I'll tape it all together. So we'll have a clean. I might do that. That's one of the things I was thinking of doing. Okay. So that's how I did that. Oh, and this I keep saying +5 in the corner, but I don't think I ended up going +5 that way. It's hard to tell, but I should have made better notes. I should have live streamed the whole thing when I was prototyping, huh? But how boring. Okay. What have you been saying, Robert? 30 by 30. Yeah, it's probably 30 by 30. Oh, thank you. You like my idea better. Figure out what the rear is and mark it. Yeah, that's what I did. Yeah, I agree. I don't like... Oh my God, dude. Today on... You are so right. I mean, today on Flight Test... I mean, I don't know what's today, but I watched... There was a video playing today because it's like on autoplay, right? Oh, I'm going to switch cameras. It's on autoplay, right? And then so I'm like... I'm messing around down here, working on work stuff, unfortunately, and... videos are playing, and the flight test is playing, and then the flight test ad, the ads, like the internal ad that they're doing, they're sponsored, is some NFTs for artwork or something. Oh my God. I was like, are you kidding me? Are you really gonna be selling NFTs to, dudes, that really bummed me out. Okay, so yes, I agree. They forgot where they started. It's all about the money. Well, you know, they got that big, huge golf course, and they got a lot of stuff going on, and they got employees, and they got to pay them bills, and so they got to keep that money rolling. So yeah, I don't watch. In fact, I will just go on another rant here and just say exactly like you were saying, Robert, is that I thought, like this Flerken, I didn't think that there would be another flight test plane that I was going to be really interested in. Now, there's been a couple come out now that I like. I mean, I like this. I want to build a simple stick, for example. It's simple, and it's a stick. I want to build one of those simple sticks. I don't... Kevin and Andy, my two flying buddies, have both built one, I think. Yeah, I mean, Kevin's is still flying. I don't know if Andy's is still flying. I mean, he might have crashed his. I'm not sure. Or he built a different version. I'm not sure. Kevin for sure built the simple stick. I think I want to build one of those. So that's relatively recent, but the Flerken is definitely a recent plane. And I don't like the name. I'm not even calling it. You can see what I've said on my little stickers here. I gave it the FTF for Flight Test Flerken Bird of Prey, because I think it looks more like a bird of prey. I don't know. So that's what I think the name of it should be. But yeah, I didn't think I was going to find any more flight test planes that I like, because they're just doing flying microwaves and flying toilets and giant things and doing things to get the clicks, I guess. Get those clicks, and that wasn't my thing. So I am glad, to say something positive, I am glad that they did the flight test tech channel. And now that the things like the build of the Flerken, which I'm very familiar with because I watched it in the background like 30 times while I was prototyping my own version of it. That's how I learned, even though I haven't really built a full one, I've watched the build like so many times, watched Josh build it. I like the techniques that, at least for me, they're not actually, they've been introduced in other planes, but the idea of building these pieces where you shape them without actually just sticking them down, shaping them as you glue them together, you know, they end up still as a separate piece that you can manipulate. And I like that because it's helped me with the prototyping process, for one, just having this piece so that I can pop in and out of the designs. Same with this one. So I like the technique that you have to do to make this. It takes a little bit of patience and whatever, but which is good. I like that. I like things that are, you know, a challenge a little bit. Okay, so let's go back to this. What are we going to do? We are going to build, this is what we're going to do. We're going to build the base plate with my modification. So unfortunately, the first thing you have to do, and yeah, I mean, there are some good things about to come out. They're doing some good stuff, and I do think that they definitely lost their way, but there may be switching back and getting back a little bit of it. I don't know. What do you guys think? If I was a real YouTuber, I'd say, what do you guys think? Put it in the comments below. While I'm rambling, I'll just apologize for not making any videos since January 17th. I mean, holy crime in Italy. That's pretty bad, but I have several issues with it. I still have a little bit of anxiety doing this. Gotta be honest. And I just I had a lot of work. That was the main thing. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm trying to get it lined up, because here's the deal. Another rant. Here's the deal, is my printer does not perfectly excuse me, pull in the paper so that it's registered perfect every time. Sometimes I waste paper by printing the same thing like 3 or 4 times, and I'll try different, like if it's a multi-page thing like this, and I'll try different. So I'm going to put a little piece of tape here and see if this is the spot I want to tape it together, because I want everything to line up. Sorry for my big fat hat in the way. I want everything to line up as close as possible. And like I said, my printer I can't just rely on lining up the edges of the paper often. Today, even now, these aren't lined up at the edge. They were more lined up. So what I want to check back here is, even sometimes the registration will change, like the paper is, it's like the paper is stretched differently may I say that differently? Differently than like the second page or the third page will be stretched at a different rate. It'll be a different size slightly than the page before it. I don't know. It's crazy. It's crazy. These crazy things happen. And so when you're taping all these pieces together like this, it takes time. So you can see why people would like to buy the plans and, you know, do that. Okay, so if you look here at the motor mount, it's a little off. It's off by 0.5 millimeter. And in the end here, it's off by 0.5 millimeter. Even, maybe even higher amount. So what I'm going to do is cut this. And why don't I have it on the cutting board? I was farther away than I thought. Okay. Okay. Let's do a better job. I'd rather have the tail end be really close. No, I'd rather have both ends be really close. Okay, so what I'm trying to do there is hold it. Okay, so I'm going to hold it there, and I'm going to see what it's like in the front. In the front, so this is one of those cases where I feel like it's stretched a different amount depending on where you are in the print. So usually it doesn't take me this long to tape these together, but I want to get it right because as you can see, it's a pretty complicated piece, and I don't want to be guessing where I cut the lines every single time. All right, that's where it's going to go, right there. That's where it's going to go. So let me put some tape down. Smooth it out along the seam and make sure the seam is flush. Okay, so that's the first step. So now what I'm going to do is we're going to rearrange things just a little bit. Get some of this crap out of the way. I hope I've explained I've probably explained it way too many times, why I'm doing what I'm doing with the Flerken. Why I'm wasting all this time. I mean, I have spent many hours. I have to admit. I will admit. I have spent many hours watching, cutting pieces, recutting them. What did I just do with that? Here it is. Okay, so next thing we're going to do is take the doubler. And what we're going to do with the doubler is we're going to cut it out. And then we're going to cut it right along this line using a steel edge. Oh, I'm in the wrong here. Taking the doubler. And so here, this line is so thick, it's like more than 1 millimeter thick when you print it out. So that leaves a little bit of room for error, wouldn't you say? Okay, so here's what we're going to do here. Is we're going to take this and we're going to lock down this with the tape dispensers. And we're going to use this straight edge with the hole sections. And that's what we're going to use as our line. So we're going to get that line right there, and we're going to get that line like that. I'm going gotta scoot it back just a little bit. Oh, too much. I don't want, it's a little bit too far. So you can see that it would be better if I had a nice vector drawing to copy and paste pieces together with and get them exactly drawn the way I wanted. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is tack this way, because I've got this line lined up, but what I don't have is this thing necessarily squared up. So there's a, I noticed I learned this lesson the last time. So what I figured out is that this line is the same as the outer line of the doubler piece. So if I take the ruler, I hope you guys can see the lines on there. Okay, so then you can see it's out of square. So what I want to do is I'm going to square it up, and then I'm going to put another piece of tape down, and I'm going to check the other side because I'm not sure how it's looking. Like I said, these lines are 1 millimeter thick. So it's easy to, like, over this length of the plane, of the aircraft, which I'm going to measure. So we're going to end up with a piece about 500 millimeters long. And so if you're trying to line up with a couple lines here, and these lines themselves are very thick, heavy millimeter, probably even 1.2 or 3 millimeters thick, you can get a couple millimeters off back and forth this way with still looking like it's feeling like you're squared up along these lines. That's what drives me crazy. So like this, I am really I'm just going to call that good. Because it turns out that the lines on this piece are thinner and the printout than on this piece. Don't ask me why. Okay, we're going to call that good. It's close enough. It's probably going to be another prototype anyway. That piece I definitely can't use, the previous one that I cut of this, because I beveled the wrong edge. You have to bevel the top edge, which is, this is the top edge. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some paper, like regular paper, and just stick it like this. And then tape it down. Am I getting it in there? Right here, this piece. It's in the corner of the video, I think, but you get the picture. Okay, we're just going to tape that down there like that. And then we're going to get another piece here. And tape it down over here. So yes, if you buy the flight test plans, I didn't make sure I make this clear to everybody, you get a locked set of plans. And so all this stuff, even though I'm going to end up drawing my own vector drawing of this, I don't think I'm going to be able to release it as a on my Thingiverse page. Okay, what I'm going to do, oops, here, so I'm going to take this back apart. And I'm going to figure out, because I'm going to go with the same length that I figured out before, just because I'm lazy. And I don't think it needs to change. I think it needs to be like 500. I think I made it 500 millimeters. I'm not sure, but we're going to measure it in a second here. But we're going to go across like that, and hopefully, I should have looked at this corner before I drew that line. That's pretty close. Okay, that's close. So what did I do? Let's extend this line out a little bit here. I gotta draw it this way because of the shadow. I want to take some measurements here in millimeters. God, imperial measurements are so crazy. It's so much easier to measure in millimeters. Why did people resist? Why did the America... When I was a kid, we were going to convert to the metric system. 24 millimeters. 204 millimeters. Or 1 and 32 17/16. Okay, so there it's 24.5 millimeters. See, I don't like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to measure a certain amount from here. We're going to measure 204 millimeters. 204 millimeters. 204 millimeters. And then we're going to go 204 millimeters from here. And we're going to redraw that line. After I erase the one that's here. I know. This is why I haven't live streamed a lot of this, because, God, how boring. This is crazy. Never get to the building part. Well, I have gotten to the building part. I built a whole plane on this live stream before. Okay. Extend these lines out. That's another thing we got to do. We're going to do that from the whole craft, not just that piece that I taped on. Right there. Drop right there. And then sorry for my big fat head. Oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. And right there. Nothing I can do though, folks. There's just nothing I can do. Okay, so what I think I did, excuse me, sorry about that, is I went right to the corner. No, I didn't. I went. Let's see. Let's get this lined up, right? Yeah, we're just going to go right to the corner. God, this doesn't even line up at all. Oh my God. This is so different. That is crazy. Oh, that's because the whole thing is wider. Dum-dum. The whole piece is wider than that. Remember that. It goes to here. Let's measure that. Oh, my big fat head isn't in the way. 100 millimeters. It's 100 millimeters on the dot. Shocking. I did an even measurement. Okay. So what I want to do then is find the center. God, wouldn't that be great if that was the center line? Could you have been so awesome? What's your name who did this? What's his name who draws these plans? Not Josh. Josh designed it, but Josh doesn't do the... He doesn't do the final drawings, I don't think. Okay, I'm just going to draw a center line and hope that I'm close. It doesn't need to be. Okay. Then we're going to go 50 millimeters on each side. That's where we're going to go to. Okay. So we're going to go from here. I must have figured that out by measuring the width of the front piece after it was folded up or something. I'm going to go right to the corner. And I'm going to try to not get my big fat head in the way and go right to the corner. So some people might be thinking there's going to be an awful lot more weight here in the front. You're probably right. But there's plenty of horizontal or front to back movement of the battery. I'll give Josh this one this time. I mean, I wish he would have made the space for the battery wider. I wish this center part, this piece, I wish this piece turned out to be just 10, maybe even 15 millimeters wider in this dimension. That would have given you more battery choices. But you really can put the battery on the bottom too. I'm not going to want to do that, but you can do it. Okay. So this is the piece we got to cut out. Holy crap, how long have I been going? Oh, all right, we will cut it out. We'll cut it out in this live stream so I can say I've done it. So that turns out to be a pretty huge piece of foam board. I'm going to check. John Overstreet, yes, you are correct. Ding, 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 ding. But when I moved to Canada, everything's metric and we measure stuff. It's all in standard, if that makes any sense. Yeah, it makes perfect sense, but oh, I feel for you because I'm trying to like just find even just a metric tape measure. Oh man, you can't get one of those here. I guess I could get one on Amazon. I never thought of that. Excuse me. Okay, so what we will do now is I'm going to get a piece of foam board and we'll cut this out, and you'll see what I go through to cut one of these things out. Because okay, so let me just say a few things about this plan here. Is that I will not be cutting out these holes here, and I only cut out this hole here, not this hole and not this hole, and I don't cut out these holes. So all these slots have to be cut out, and that is the biggest pain in the butt. But it's not as big a pain in the butt as cutting out this piece. When you cut these things out, I've taken my glasses off so I can't see. You have to, it's just, you can see what happened here. I've been prototyping, so it's been in and out of the thing. Oh, the other thing I should go over is if you build it my way, you don't have to do hardly any of the foldovers. And what I mean by that is that these pieces have paper, so you leave extra paper that you peel the foam off, and then you fold it over so that you have a paper edge here. And in the flight test lingo, they call that, strangely enough, a foldover. And so when you build the original plans, I know I'm on another tangent, but you do foldovers all the way across this whole thing, and it's a pain in the ass. You don't have to do that with my design because these aren't going to be exposed, these edges, so no foldovers there. So, but I did do the foldover in the very back. on this one. And that goes the same with, yeah, no, that's it. Those are the foldovers you don't have to worry about. So that's another modification. Okay, so our aim is to cut this piece, the rocket ship piece. I didn't mean for it to turn out like a rocket ship. That was not in the plan. Okay, foam board. I just bought 15 pieces of foam board, so I ought to have some foam board. I think I bought 16 pieces of foam board. I just grabbed a giant stack and took it to the counter. And foam board is no longer $1. It's $1.25. Times they are changing, folks. Okay, so what we're going to do, one more thing, is we can take this and cut the edge closer to the edge of the paper. Kevin, hello, Kevin. Kevin is Kevin that I've been referring to, Kevin. The Kevin that built the simple stick. And a fine job you did. That proves my point about longevity. That plane will last a long time, assuming that you don't make it look like this. Crashed. Okay, so what we can do is, what I'm doing here is cutting this so that we can use less foam board when we tape. And I'm going to put some tape on the underside of this so it doesn't fall apart. Yes, like I said, I did not intend for it to look like a rocket ship or whatever else. Might look like. Okay, we can also cut this edge off. I guess I'm going to keep it the same length. Let's measure the overall length just for the fun of it. Hope you don't mind my transgression here, but I kind of want to see. I think it's exactly 500 or pretty close. Oh, it's longer than 500. 540, about 540 millimeters long. Okay, so there we go. Let's cut it out. One second, I'm having an issue with my battery here. I think I got it plugged in better. Okay. I hope it wasn't cutting out. All right. I don't think it was. So, back to the task at hand here is to get some of this junk out of the way. So, immediately, the first thing you might notice is my cutting board mat is not the same size as it needs. It's not as big as it needs to be. That's for sure. Yes, I like the bevel tool too. Here it is. The only thing is that I would like to improve from the Thingiverse design is I would like to make it a little bit more. This corner here gets me. Why does we have to have a corner here? I think if I made one for each, I only use it this way, but some people might use it this way. So you could make two different designs and round off, make it a little bit more ergonomic. That's what I need to do one of these days. Too bad I have to work, right? Okay. Here we go. So we got to tape this down. I have been dilly-dallying long enough. Got to get going. I still have to go to work tonight, believe it or not. Not for that long, though. Just to do a couple simple tasks in the server room. Okay, so we tape this down at a few points to keep it from going, and I will be using more tape as I cut because I don't like it falling all apart. Well, this one doesn't have a lot of score cuts, so actually probably not. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to test the blade because I want a fresh blade. One of the most important things when cutting a flight test foam board plane. Oh, and I have a system. So I put it in. I always put it in with the logo down the first time. So that way I know if the logo's down that I can flip it around and have a sharp edge. If the logo's up, then I know I gotta throw the thing, replace the blade. So now we're starting with a sharp blade. And so the way I go about this is when I have a sharp blade, the first thing I want to do is any curvy parts. So these are the curvy parts right here. I'm going to take my phones and stuff out of my back pocket and sit down in the chair now. Okay. And I'm probably going to be getting my big fat head in the way. And I need to change glasses. Okay, so the curvy parts are what I do first when the blade is the sharpest, because you're doing them by hand. And oh, that's another thing. So as soon as I go through a crease like that, and so keep it from bubbling up on me, I'm gonna kind of, where I go through a joint between pieces of paper. Now this one, there is a couple straight lines, but I don't have to be, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's just an access hole. So I'm going to just cut the whole hole freehand. But I am still going to cut it in the shape that the flight test that Josh Bixler drew, or John Overstreet, because see, I tape it again because it's starting to like flip around, and the reason I'm doing that is because I want them to all line up and look nice, you know, when you put it together. And I'm doing the same hole. Actually, I don't have to worry about that being a hole. Okay, so next, get my straight edge. Now, it's best to have a straight edge that does not have foam on the bottom. I'm going to have to stand up for this part. But still is a little bit sticky. It doesn't slide around super easy. And the way I try to do this is work my way from one side to the other. So I'm going to try to go from this side to this side. And I'm only doing the internal cuts at this point. So the first one is this back piece that holds the vertical stabilizers on. And again, these lines are so thick that you can be off a square a little bit and still look like you're matching up with the line. So pay close attention and always get your big fat head in the camera when you're doing this. Okay, that's going to be so embarrassing. But I can't help it, you guys. I used to have a full, thick head of hair. Thick rock and roll hair. No longer. So I flip it around in my hand to get the other side. Because I can't accurately cut to the... When you're cutting this way, you can get your knife exactly where you want it. But when you're ending the cut, you flip it around and get the pointy tip right where you need it. Like I need to give lessons on how to cut foam board. I don't know any more than anybody else. So I'm not necessarily making sure I have everything cut perfectly through, but I am making sure that I have the distance of my cuts correct, if that makes any sense. So that when I take the template off, I'll still be able to see all the cuts like as if the template were there. Now this one, I have to move over to this side and get my big fat head out of the way. Yay. Flip the knife around and go this way. Flip the knife around. I think I learned this without knowing it, just going like this and like this. I used to not be able to do that. So again, it's very hard to get this exactly right, a square. So one of these days, I should ramble on about, I'm building a project creep. I have several CNC projects in the works that are slowly, and the reason I can just say they're in the works is because I've printed some parts for each one. I have like a design folder, like a project board for each one. I have parts lists, bills of materials, I guess you'd call it, for each project, and some parts purchased for each project, because some of the parts are common for both the CNC needle cutter and the 4-axis foam cutter, hot wire foam cutter. It's actually starting to get warm down here. I'm going to turn off this heater. Hold on. I've had the heater going since December down here. Okay, we're working our way across. We're almost there. It takes a little bit of patience and time to get each one of these cuts This is why my idea for live streaming some of this stuff, like the FPV combat, is to have all the parts. Like, I went through the process of cutting out one of the parts, the wings, and I went through the process of wiring one of the flight controllers and one of the GPS and all that stuff. Figuring out the lights. Oh, those line up too. I didn't really realize that. Well done, Josh. So that's like this. I should have these pieces pre-cut. Then well, I did the live stream explanation, but I'll learn how to do this someday. I'll plan out, I'll get some video editing done someday. I promise I will. I've got so much good material. Okay, so those are all those little cuts. So the next thing we have to do is the all-important, very important, this little piece here. And that takes your slot, that takes your motor mount. So you want that to be square. And you want it to be centered. You want everything to be right with this. No messing around. And also, I'm making mine a little bit wider because my motor mount is 3 millimeters, my 3D printed design. So I'm just guessing 3 millimeters. Okay, next, look at the chat. Oh, 22.5 degrees. Yeah, I need, you'll have to send me in like, Robert, send me like a message in, if you have the links to those on Thingiverse or if they're your own design, whatever. I'd like to see those bevel cutter prints. Okay, so the next, if they're available, of course, if they're available. Oh, I forgot about this. This one here. How much time? 1:55. Okay, we're close. As soon as I get this piece cut out, we're just going to end. I don't know why I'm doing this on the stream. I'm sorry, you guys, but I'm doing it. So here we go. This has nothing to do with really talking about building it for INAV or longevity. I'll talk about the main points that I went over. I'm changing the design of the base plate. That's the thing we're cutting out, to make it thicker and to make it so that I can build a separate top and bottom piece. I'm also adding spars and of course covering it with packing tape. Those are the main features that will add longevity, I hope. And I can attest to my flight test designs, and Kevin can too, he's seen them. They take a licking and keep on ticking. Okay, so we're going to start with the shortest cuts on the outside perimeter. Oh, and see there, I just screwed up. The ruler moved as I was cutting. That's not a super important piece right there, but still, that just did happen. So you got to be careful. You got to pay attention to what you're doing. Oh, and there are a couple other curves here. I'm going to cut those out. So I should have cut those out at the beginning when my knife was nice and super sharp, but because curves are always easier the sharper your knife is. Because you don't get that like spurt and go in a straight line. You don't get all that crap going on. Okay. This is really a curved line all the way to the back. And this is really a curved line all the way to the back. So we don't need a straight edge for that, do we? All the critical lines, well, no. We got some other I was going to say all the critical lines as far as whether they're straight or not have been cut already. But no, they're not. So the other thing we want to do is cut, I'm skipping part. We got to cut these things. And what I do for that, that'll put me over budget on time, is I just point the knife in so I know where it is. And they all line up. So you hold the ruler straight. And like I said, with these new flight test plans, it's harder than normal to get. Maybe it's just something that happened when I was processing these to get get to where I got that made the lines thicker. That might be. Because why aren't they thicker on this piece? They're not thicker on this piece because I didn't do the same processing on that piece. Because I learned that I was wasting a lot of time doing some of the things I was doing, which I'm not going to go into. But anyway, doesn't matter. You don't get vector drawings. You can't get vector drawings of this by paying $15. And I have no vector drawings. But one of these days... Oops, I missed that one. There are a lot of little slots in this piece. You have to get them all. Nope, now you go to that one. Work your way back. Get it squared up. So, yes, you save money. I'll ramble on some more. You save money by going to your own Dollar Tree store and buying foam board and then buying the plans even. But, sorry about my big fat head. You spend a lot of time. You spend a lot of time, but you learn how to cut it. You're not dependent on, what if you break a part? What if you crash your plane? That never happens. What if you bought a Flerken for $60 or whatever, $50 or however much the kit costs with the power pack and all that? Because that's what people are going to do, right? So what if you did that and then you crashed it and you got to build a new nose? Then what? You're going to try to take your cracked up nose and make a template out of it? Did you make a template out of it before you built it? Can you make a template out of it that's accurate enough? I don't know the answer to these questions. Good night, Robert. Thank you, Robert. I'll get my act together someday, Robert. I promise I will. I'll make some good content. Maybe. Hopefully. Live streams will have to cut it for now. Going to be saying goodnight soon, too. I'm going to finish cutting this out. We're going to see how it matches up with the other one. That's really what I'm after. I want to see how much my plan, drawing two separate ones, freehand, sort of like semi-freehand, like taping it together like I just did, and cutting it, and getting all these angles and trying to get things perpendicular. I'm going to see how good I did. And then hopefully on this one, I will have beveled it. Hey Kevin, if you're still here, did you fly Saturday? And how was it? What was going on? Did you guys burn at the field? I was so busy that I kind of lost track of what you guys were doing. I'm sorry I missed out on it. I even missed out on my daughter. She left Saturday morning and I missed it. Saw her when she got here, but I didn't see her when she left. Okay, so that's the back. Now, have I gotten all the slots? Yes. I have. So what I was talking about is I belong to a club. It was the AMA Club of the Month last month, by the way. March 2022 AMA Club of the Month, Riley County Flyers. I think that has to do all with Andy and Kevin, because they have helped bring some life back to the club, and they especially took some photos and did some things and got some photos on social media and the websites, and the club got noticed because of those things by the AMA club person who goes around and figures out who should be Club of the Month, I guess. I don't know how that works. Okay, so yes, so that happened this month, March 2022. Something that's not devastating and vile and disgusting and horrible among all the terrible things going on in the world today. I wonder, is that Annie's cover shot? Burnt the field, burnt the whole field. So the runway and everything. Maybe that'll keep the moles down. Okay, which line was I going for? That line. I want to cut this front line because I drew two lines here. And I sort of only half erased one. So I'm going to cut it while I can see it, because it kind of matters that it's straight. The ruler moved a little bit as I was starting the second swipe, so I pulled the ruler away. Okay. We're almost done with the outside of this. I shouldn't say almost done, because you still got to get all the little bits out of it. And then this one's got to sort of be cut this way, which means I got to reach over the whole thing. Oh, another reason I didn't live stream recently is every time I went to live stream, when I was working on stuff that I thought might be interesting, or that I would have worked on stuff that I thought might be interesting, this overhead camera wouldn't work. I'm going to save that. That's going to be part of my reinforcement pieces. It kept not working. Like over and over and over. And then today it miraculously worked. And I don't even know what I did. So here we can see we're cutting the modified part of the design. This is what makes it different than the original. Now, whether it's better or worse, I don't know. I guess I should still make one of the original way. Should make something, finish some plane. Some plane needs to be finished. My project creep. Mostly the flight test FPV combat planes. Okay. We've gotten, look at that, we made some progress there. So you can see that me, just like when I built the AR wing, just like when I built the, what else have I built online? The C1 Chaser. I think I did that one online. It takes forever. It takes me forever. Oh, look at that. I forgot a whole row. A whole row of slots here. We've got to get those cut properly. a lot of times I go through and mark where the edges are so that when I'm cutting I can see it if it's covered by the ruler, but I didn't do that today. Okay. Can't believe I didn't cut these. Oh, knife's starting to get dull already. Can you believe it? Okay, oh, did I not? So now take a quick inspection before you peel the whole thing off and make sure that you didn't forget anything that you wanted to cut. Again, I am not cutting several of the things that are meant to be cut. So now we just finish. We're almost there, folks. Again, this will be the hardest part. Sometimes I get a little knife. Oh, I didn't put it away. How dare I not put it away? Now it's lost. Oh, there it is. So to get these curves, I'm going to use a little X-Acto knife and kind of saw my way around. And over here too. And then just cut my way through. Anywhere where it's relatively straight. There, we've got it. Oh, it's almost free. There we go. Come on. You got it. Okay, so all we have left to do is cut our little... First, let's... Oh my God, let's see how far off we are. Let's see how far off we are from this one. Oh my gosh, folks. It's pretty close, except for right there. So I must have cut in. I did. Oh, I did. I recut it. That's why we're doing this check, folks. Okay. So here's what we got to do. I recut it. From that point, I went in 5 millimeters. I went in 5 millimeters. Shit. So basically, what I need to do is first, let's draw a line from the corner to the corner, and we need to be very as precise as possible. And to check our precision, we'll measure along this line and see if we get the same amount. 204 millimeters, exactly what it's supposed to be. .204 millimeters. So I can rest fairly sure that this line that I drew here is square with the overall shape. So the next thing I want to do is measure in 5 millimeters from the corner. Is it 5? Let's take another look. I'm going to call that not quite 5. Sorry, my big head is in the way. I'm not going to call that quite 5. I think it might be 4. Sorry, there's no other way I can do this. Did I write down on this other one what I did? Where is it? I had it. I had it at some point in this live stream. I know I did. But I foolishly lost track of it. Because this is the one I just cut. Not the one I had before. Ah, here it is. This is the one. Ah, okay. I have dimensions written on here. 82, 60. See, I should have paid attention. So, let us measure 60. Oh, no. Let us measure how thick that is. That is 6. We're just going to go in 6 on each side. And again, I apologize for putting my big fat head in there, but we're going to do it. I got no other choice. 6. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we have to draw a line to make a new cut. And that's going to be a difficult cut. It would have been an easier cut on the first try. But that's what prototyping is all about. You can't always, you got to learn your lessons. But this is why I need to get this drawn out. I need to get this drawn out on a CAD program. The other thing I'm going to do is go, what did they say, 60? 60. So we're going to do another check here. We're going to draw a mark at 60 millimeters on this line. 60. And 60 from here. And I'll show you where that's supposed to line up with. So those two 60s, these two marks here, should line up with this inside line. And it's hard with these lights today. So they don't quite line up like they should. Let's see that one. Nope. Oh well, what can I say? 60 plus 66. Let's do that second measurement just to make sure that I'm at 66 here. Again, wasting your time. Okay. That's the cut. That's the cut we got to make. So we're going to get our cutting tool again. And I'm got to cut where there's no shadow. You can probably see it better this way too, out there in TV land. going to try to carefully do this cut so I don't move the ruler while I'm cutting, and that I don't lose track of where the edge is on the front here. Now this one's going to be harder because I'm left-handed, so I've got to do it right-handed. So I got to do it even more slowly and deliberately. And I keep cutting into the ruler because I'm left-handed. That was a good cut though. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is just cut right on this line here. I probably should have done a little bit of a curve, because now we're introducing a stress point. But, oh well, like it matters. Okay. 2 hours 19. Yep. Okay, that means we're done. So this is the piece, the lower piece, and I will just continue to live stream now the rest of my prototyping as long as I'm not cutting out pieces like this. I feel like I've explained. I'll just do the process of getting one of these tabs out. So for each of these tabs you got to keep cutting until you get all the way through, of course, and then you got to take your little X-Acto knife and carefully get that, pop it through, maybe turn it around, because if you don't get it all the way you end up ripping the paper, and I'll show you what I mean. If I tear it off here, a lot of times what will happen is the paper will start to rip where I haven't finished cutting. So what you want to do is make sure that you cut it all like that. And with that, we will end the stream. But to recap, this is basically a design. Let me read what's going on with Kevin here. Burnt the field. Okay, yes, burnt the field. Burnt the field. I already saw that, and I think that's a good thing they burnt the field, and I'm sorry I didn't participate. That would have been fun, actually. That would have been fun. I hope you had fun, Kevin, if you're still listening. It seems like that would have been fun. I better change my glasses so I can see. So thanks. I'm sorry this wasn't that fun, but it was my plan to just do this in at most 1.5 hours. I went over, of course. Prototyping, variation on Josh Bixler's design, and I'm going to say excellent design. I don't really know how it flies, but I've seen a few people on YouTube flying it, and I've seen some people that have no idea what they're doing, and so I'm going to discount those people. And the other people seem like they knew what they were doing, and at least line of sight, they flew it fine. So if you can fly at line of sight, you can fly at FPV, because it's way easier flying FPV than it is flying line of sight. So there you go. Okay, thanks for watching. I will try to do better. Sorry for no streams or nothing, doing nothing out there in the world since January 17th. But next time you see me, hopefully I will be working on the FPV combat wings, because those have to be done, because we have to go on a camping trip, and those have to be on the camping trip. So number 6 is the one I want. So thanks for watching, and I do really appreciate you watching and subscribing and all that kind of stuff, all those things.